Breakfast Call Dialogue, widening your horizons.
Hey, this is Arlene and you're listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And this is Grace.
Oh, you guys were chatting really excitingly about something, huh?
About something.
Yes, about something.
About something and freedom of emotion, speech.
In line with our topic today, which is about freedom
Exactly.
in different aspects, in terms of human rights, in terms of internet and media freedom.
So for today, we are going to talk about a question that a lot of people are still seeking the line, whether, you should be free to have your own expression, freedom of expression, or you should control yourself or limit what you should say, what is politically or socially acceptable. So today's topic is hate speech or freedom of expression. So starting with the idea of hate speech, with the advancement of social media and the internet, people have more freedom and space to express their view. I mean, politically, you can see during Tun Mahathir's time and until now, you see the difference, how internet has somehow freed a Malaysian society to tell other people what
it has
they
only
think.
become freer because people can access to those internet and also website with easier approach, like with also development of our this technology, with all those electronic devices and gadgets that we have right now. We cannot like, even when we are having conversation, we can even type something on the phone. So it just comes that easy. So then people, it's more like more platforms are open to the public to give and allow them to express whatever they have to say about it.
And now social media is very easy, and with smartphones and all that,
Exactly.
you can upload any videos, or you can type your whatever you want, and you can even upload photos easily. And of course, with Photoshop, you can Photoshop whatever you want as well. And that sometimes people might Photoshop things that other people do not like to see. But is it their freedom of speech, or is it something that they should be limiting it and should be considered as seditious?
And it definitely goes back to what Grace said earlier about how the platforms are all opening up. And we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have so many different platforms today to express our views. And of course, some people do it in moderation, other people go to the extreme. They don't have that discretion, that sensitivity towards other people, because we are a very diverse community. We have different races, different religion, and sometimes certain things you say may, of course, hurt people from a different ethnicity, or just people with different beliefs or different ideas. And that also comes into the question about what Ideas did last night. They had a Q&A about freedom, and the hashtag was Ask Ideas. And there were a lot of people asking, do we really need a law to actually safeguard the country, to safeguard the peace and harmony in this country? Or is it something that we should be aware about? Is it something that should be done at education level in high school, in college, as opposed to just having a law and saying, you cannot do this, you cannot say that, this is hateful, this is not right?
Not only in this country, like we had like few speakers from different countries, from Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and then they also talked about the relationship between political situation and the media content. Some could be just censored, some could be just removed, or some could be just they use this one as an agenda or platform to make use of the media to release the news from the government itself. So we actually talked and we discussed so many things regarding these social media issues.
I'm just wondering, did they reply to Durian ASEAN's hashtag? They didn't. So, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone has their own opinion. Either it's extreme opinion, or it's opinion that they would just like people to know. There are certain opinions that it's good for you to keep to yourself. It can be an opinion that is really, really, really private, such as sexuality and all that. But at the same time, if you want to talk about opinion that but at the same time, you want other people to hear your opinion as well. Let's say, I mean, I just give example. I hate chocolate ice cream. I love vanilla ice cream. But all of you prefer chocolate ice cream, and I want to make my point. Hey, let's have vanilla instead of chocolate. So I try to push my idea towards your idea. Like, let's not eat a chocolate ice cream. Let's just have all vanilla ice cream. So you will feel uncomfortable about it, while I will feel like, hey, this is my right to have chocolate ice cream. To me, what is wrong is when someone push their idea towards other people and force other people to accept their idea, instead of like, if I want vanilla ice cream, I'll get myself vanilla ice cream, and you should get yourself chocolate ice cream if you like chocolate ice cream. That's the analogy that I can think of when it comes to freedom of expression.
And it's not just about forcing. It's also when a lot of people feel like they want to criticize something, and there is a little bit of hypocrisy when it comes to this aspect, because when they ridicule another person's belief or idea, it seems okay. But when people try to question them back, they are not happy about it and they get all defensive. But hey, it should work both ways. If you cannot handle people criticizing your ideas or your beliefs, then you shouldn't do that to other people in the first place. Because once you do that, of course, people are gonna try and dispute it, try and argue with you, or try to reason with you. Why do you make such a statement, or why would you say things like that? What is your justification? And if you find it hard to reply, or you get offended and saying that, oh, you cannot ask me that question, like I just want to say that, then it doesn't work that way. It doesn't promote any discussion or any healthy debate in that sense.
And also, it also comes with, sometimes there are always majority and a minority, and a lot of people tend to follow majority when it comes to opinion, and they do upload those kind of things on social media, and that creates another community on social, on internet itself. You see, and the minority people, they are usually the ones who gets affected by the majority opinions, and then they do come up with a campaign, or they also complain about how it's unfair, how they're not treated properly in terms of opinion, because after all, we are all given to express ourselves freely, whether we are from a minority people or majority community.
And
Yeah, you want to say something?
I'm glad that Grace brought that up, because that was another thing that was being highlighted yesterday at the conference.
Exactly.
The discrimination that the minorities feel in each country, because that's something that we cannot run away from. Whether you look at Malaysia, or you look at Europe, you look at US, every country has a majority community and they also have the minority. But the only difference is that some countries actually still give them the same respect and the same benefits, the same privileges to go for that equality. But some countries, you cannot help it. They really, really oppress the minority group, and their rights are not protected. Their basic rights as a human is violated, and they are being treated in the most inhumane way possible.
And the people tend to attack them verbally, and that's another way of doing it on social media.
But a lot of different countries, they do have their own laws to protect,
Of course.
people against being insulted, and they have anti-hate speech law, and in Malaysia, of course, we have the sedition law. Different laws definitely can somehow provide some sort of protection, but at the same time, it is also risk being abused. Yesterday, the Bar Council did a freedom march against the Sedition Act. And the problem with the Sedition Act, although in its spirit is actually is about protecting the status quo, the government of the day, and also the monarchy, and also in terms of trying to create a neutral ground among Malaysians to be able to express themselves, but at the same time not hurting each other. And a lot of people are not happy about it because it is risk being abused in a way that a lot of those are being detained by the via the Sedition Act are in fact political dissidents, meaning that they are unhappy politically with this country, but their views are being considered as having seditious tendencies.
There are a lot of problems with the Sedition Act, and you're right. In spirit, it might be for a good cause. Of course, it is to safeguard the country and it's to curb hate speech. But at the same time, it is a law that dates back to the colonial times. It wasn't something that we came up with. It was something that the British people
in
came
fact,
up
it was
with when they
almost
were
10
here.
years before Merdeka,
Mhm.
Independence Day, that the sedition law was enacted. It was in 1948, and of course, we gained independence in 1957.
And that's one of the reasons why a lot of lawyers especially feel like this law is really not relevant to the current context, to the current situation of the country. This is something that dates back to so long, and we probably need a renewed version, an updated, more relevant version of it. We
In
cannot
fact, an
just-
updated version of the 1948, which was amended during 1967, added more provisions to the whole Sedition Act. For example, it added that you cannot question certain rights, such as Bumiputra rights, and you cannot question, the other races as well. And this is something that has been somehow used by the government of the day to justify the majority rule of certain races.
Yes, and another thing that is also the problem is that, like you mentioned, it is being abused. But that's, of course, the way that some people look at it. Some people would still say that it's important to have the Sedition Act. And the reason we don't want the Sedition Act is not because we want to promote hate speech or we encourage people to say whatever they want. That's not the case. The reason that we really want the Sedition Act to be repealed is because it's really unnecessary. We are all Malaysians. We respect each other. We know that we are different in so many ways, and yet we can still live among each other. Like, let's just say, for example, like you and me. And I respect you because I respect you as a human being. It's not.
Really?
It's not because I'm
But
afraid of
I'm
the
an
sedition
alien.
law.
But I think there are a few groups of people who can actually say against whatever we are discussing
of
right
course.
now, saying that what most Malaysians do not aware or they don't know is that their freedom of speech is actually limited according to the law. I mean, they wouldn't go around making seditious, provocative, or defamatory statement, that can be punished by the law itself. And there's also quote says, like, if you think twice before you want to say something, you can actually make a better speech, So, but by having sedition law in Malaysia and then how it's been functioning, people actually nowadays do think twice before they upload something on the internet right now.
There's this idea of being politically correct. I come from a background, or where I'm coming from, I feel that if you want to talk about freedom of expression, like total freedom, you shouldn't discriminate, as in like, you shouldn't say that, oh, you have to be politically correct. Maybe in some instances, like when it comes to dealing with state matters, like in the parliament and all that, then that's fine. But when you are talking about the public society, especially in a diverse nation like Malaysia, where our country is moving into a more modern society, if you want the people to be more matured in its speech, you cannot curtail the freedom of expression. You should educate and create a more improve the education system to let people think critically. When you start to curtail what you should say or what you can't say or how to be more politically correct within society, you are actually creating a society that don't think. They just do because it's the right way to do it. But do you really want to be in that form of society? So to me, like, of course, you have Perkasa at the other end, and then you have the Dong Jiao Zhong at the other end, and then of course you have the silent majority, and you have people who have extreme views about all the different things. Fine, just let them say whatever they want. But unless they're harming people physically, it shouldn't be an issue for people to express. Let's say certain quarters want to have more racial rights of their own community. If they think that that is what they want to say, just let them say. But for the silent majority, what the government could do is to create a good fundamental, as in like educate society, let them think critically.
But the educating society is a long term.
It is a long term.
It's very long term, and how to approach people is another story, because with the this social media is spreading, and also a lot more forms of social media is created. It's really hard to approach those people in public, So educating people is another story, but then make them aware of what's going on is also different level.
But that doesn't necessarily call for any sedition act, because at the end of the day, people can still think about what they're saying, because as humans, we all know that we can say certain things and we cannot say certain things. But of course, there are some
So you are
probably extremist.
But so that means you are pro limiting freedom for the sake of being politically correct. Would that be the case?
No, I was actually suggesting that because Grace was saying that this is a long-term measure, and maybe we need something for the short term. But even for the short term, we don't need a sedition act, because people can always think for themselves.
People can always think for themselves, and then sedition, I believe it's still necessary. But then the recent events of people got persecuted under this Sedition Act, it went a bit extreme.
It went a bit extreme.
That's
Can you imagine an old man who is not economically well? I mean, it's a poor guy. He's so unhappy with the government, so he put his probably one of his shoes on the face of Najib, Prime Minister Najib, and he's being charged with Sedition Act. Do you think it's justified?
Did he say something?
He didn't say something, but in one of the provisions of the Sedition Act, you cannot undermine or somehow delegitimize the current government, in a way that if you want to if you are discontent with this government, it's fine, but you shouldn't do any action where you undermine their credibility. And putting a shoe on Najib's face is like as if you are undermining his credibility.
That is definitely disrespectful, I would think, to do that to our Prime Minister, regardless of who he is, because as much as we're not happy with the government, he's not exactly killing us.
But in other countries, I mean, I'm not trying to look down on any prime minister.
Okay.
Either it's Malaysia or other countries. But in other countries such as the US, they are free to even make fun of their prime minister. They do jokes. They even make him as if he's some sort of caricature that can be made fun of. But it's fine, because it's part of politics. If you are not happy with Barack Obama, then fine, make fun of him.
They do it in a very sarcastic ways, by drawing pictures or editing picture, even articles. They'll write articles in a certain ways to attack, the government indirectly. And if I'm not mistaken, from my country, Korea, we do a lot of things, and we have a lot of communities who do go against the government, a government's idea, and actually none of them actually do go under this kind of law. That's how, what's been going on in Malaysia, because we do believe that, because our government system is running on the democracy, and that we do believe that we have our freedom of speech. We have the right to do whatever we decide, as long as the content that we're bringing is appropriate. Contents we're bringing is worth, discussing, worth, being controversial in politically or any, areas. So in that way, it's respected in a different level, not only at the level of human rights, or because after all, we're all human beings.
Yeah. So I just want to define hate speech according to Wikipedia. which they referred it to some other sources, is speeches that attacks a person or group on the basis of attributes such as gender, ethnic origin, religion, race, disability, or sexual orientation. Definitely not something that is good. But do you think the government or civil society should curtail it through the law? This is another thing to be considered as well, because when you have the internet, I would say internet is the most anarchic space that you can find anywhere in the world, because you can do whatever you want online without having even an identity.
Exactly. Internet is our best friends apparently now, because we can share whatever you want to.
Since internet has become a space where people can voice out their opinion without having an identity, of course there will be a lot of views, extreme views especially, coming out from the internet. Is it something that the government should limit the usage of internet? There's also another question that we need to answer. And we will take a short break. When we return back, Gowri, Grace, and myself will be sharing our views on that.
ASEAN Breakfast Call Dialogue, widening your horizons.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
Hi, this is Grace.
Should we be politically correct, or should we control ourselves, or should we let it loose? So continuing our conversation today about hate speech or freedom of expression. So I was looking around on what are the laws out there in other countries. Of course, in Malaysia we have the Sedition Act and the Penal Code, but internationally, under the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights.
It's Covenant, actually.
Covenant. Sorry, I make it wrongly. I see it wrongly. So on the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, it stated that any advocacy of national, racial, or religious hatred that constitutes incitement to discriminate, hostility, or violence should be prohibited by law. So it does stated that, if you are promoting hatred, you should be prosecuted, or the law should put a limit to it. In fact, under the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, prohibits all incitement of racism. But maybe this is just my own opinion. As much as we want to respect the law, we want the law to limit and make people be more responsible in what they say. But I have a fear that once you create many laws to limit what can a person say or what shouldn't a person say, you started to be more reserved and more politically correct, but it doesn't change who you are as a person. You still have this prejudice inside you. You still feel that the world, is just a very orderly, organized world where it controls your everyday moves.
But it's not so much for everyday moves from the way I see it, because
sorry, I have too much George Orwell in my mind. So
because if we're talking about ICCPR by itself, which was also raised by one of the speakers yesterday, it's more to actually protect the rights of the minority in each country. And surprisingly, a lot of countries in Southeast Asia and also other places have not yet signed this treaty, which actually protects the right of the minority, and you're not allowed to discriminate them, to oppress them, and it fights for their rights. And
I think when you talk about rights and when you talk about physical harm, definitely everyone should be protected under the law. But when it comes to speeches, like hate speeches, especially online, do you think there should be a law on it?
Because Arlene, you just mentioned that with the limitation, because of the law, you can't be the way you want to be. And then one of the examples that came in my mind was, that's one of the cases in Malaysia. What happened was Alvin and Vivian, uploading all those photos. Well, personally, I think they were just being themselves. They did what they wanted to do, yeah. But at the end of it, they got lots of feedback from public, and also they were charged under this law and then the government.
And that's interesting. It probably goes back to how the public react, because it probably depends on the society as well, how liberal they are, or if they are conservative, or they are open-minded. Because if everyone just kept quiet about it and just pass it off like, these two idiots, whatever, then there would probably be no charge against them. But because there was a huge public outcry against them and criticizing what they did, which is why the officials, the authority had to step in and do something about it, because they have to, keep the people happy.
Mm-hmm.
And also, they brought a huge outcry from the public because it happened during the Ramadan season. By uploading the pictures of pork, having the pork, and that definitely did anger the whole society. So, but again, there are still people who are supporting them because they always go for the freedom of speech.
They might not
freedom of
say,
right.
yeah, but they're not.
But those are people in the minority people.
Yeah, but they might not be saying the right kind of stuff. I mean, I disagree with what they do and what they say, but they have every right to do what they want. To put it on the net if they want it. I mean, it's their lives, it's their bodies. They should be having control over what they should do or think or even perform, isn't it?
Yes, but of course, it goes back to what kind of effect it has on people. Because if they probably just did it among their close friends or whatever, probably wouldn't have become such an issue. But because they put it up on their blog, which was accessible to everyone, probably even people outside of Malaysia, and to go to that extreme, it probably offended a lot of people.
But isn't it the same as, serving pork in the same table with Muslim? It's like, I still remember there's this one photo that I saw in Dubai, and Dubai is a majority Muslim nation. So in one of the hotels in Dubai, they actually serve pork next to halal food. But what they do differently is they put the word pork there. So let's say you are Muslim and you are someone who eats everything. You just, pick and choose which one that you would eat or you wouldn't eat. It's the same as being a vegetarian. If you feel that you can't eat certain meat, then choose vegetarian dishes. But do you have to separate vegetarian, the table serving all the vegetarian food with the table serving all the meats food?
Well, that's how the religion is practiced differently in countries.
I feel that religion creates certain boundaries within ourselves, but it doesn't mean that it's creating boundaries between us and other people who don't subscribe to our own thinking. And what we see right now is a lot of people, they become so sensitive just because they don't agree with the view of other people who they think are trying to harm their religion, when in fact, no one is harming anyone's religion. Anyone can be as critical as possible to anyone's religion, including themselves. Because at the end of the day, if you really have strong faith in what you believe in, whether it's Allah or Jesus or even flying spaghetti monster, you should have the right to believe in whatever you want and, stay on course. In fact, what you should do is you should strike a more intelligent point, debate or conversation with those who criticizes your religion or your beliefs. Then it will be a much more matured society.
Well, we will come to the point of having sort of intellectual discussion on social media. But again, Malaysia, this nation, is under Sharia law. So not many people have things to, like, what they want to say on the social media, and they will get caught for sure, because they will taint the name of certain religion and certain society. That's what they get. So when it comes to freedom of speech, Malaysia still has a lot of limitations. Yeah.
Do you have any opinion on this, Gowri? Do you think religion should be open to criticism and hate speech in order to protect the idea of freedom of expression?
I think the fact is that usually religion is not open to criticism. It's usually more of a conviction where you don't question any part of it and you just practice it as it is supposed to be. And that, of course, can create certain complications when it comes to interpreting certain matters. Because like what you said earlier, yeah, maybe in Dubai, they interpret it differently, which is why the community there are okay with certain foods being served side by side.
And of course, there are more foreigners there in Dubai than in Malaysia.
But over here, we probably don't interpret religion that way. It's something more, what you call, more strict in the way that they see it, which is why, because even for Hinduism, for example, when there is beef being served beside something, they probably wouldn't want to eat that thing.
You mean the beside something?
Yeah, that's right.
But don't you think it's a bit paranoid?
In my opinion, yes, it is, because the point here is you can't eat beef. So if it's there, just don't touch it, don't look at it, whatever.
Just ignore the beef and take whatever that is next to the beef.
But the thing is, it's different how it works for different people. Like some people are okay with it, they would still eat it. But some people probably who are more conservative would not want to touch it.
I see. If they can't eat beef, that means they cannot go to countries that love to eat beef.
Probably.
Well, okay, that's besides the point. Grace, freedom of speech is enshrined in South Korea's
for sure.
constitution. But how much of the society within South Korea actually go beyond just freedom of expression, but really, criticize everything?
We have this term called the power of netizen. When it comes to social media, that's how powerful it is. They can actually, put one person down from such a high position in society, because we are given a right. We are given a choice to say whatever you want. That's our country. But again, the law applies on us publicly, but we still have a say to whatever we want to say. And with the increasing number of social media contents and also elements that we can be exposed, we can just say whatever we want. For example, any celebrities we can criticize, and also politicians as well. Recent visit of North Korea, the three high-ranking leaders coming to Korea. There are lots of debates going on between, and then some debates are very sensitive, because still North Korea, it's our sort of enemy. But by bringing up the topic and to discuss about certain topic which is pretty controversial, it's still allowed in our country. It's still allowed, and then that comes with a lot of analysis, a lot of researches. Like you said, just make sure that we have our intellectual discussions, not just shallow-minded people getting all together and just discussing just the point of the surface.
That's true. I think at the end of the day, as the moderator of any other platform within social media, it's not about censoring opinions just because you say something that is against Hinduism's beliefs, or you say something that you're not happy with how the Muslim do things. It doesn't mean that you should keep quiet and be politically correct. You can say whatever you want, no matter how dumb or stupid other people might think, because at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with the moderator of whatever platform it is.
Yep.
And as the moderator of the whatever platform, let's say a website or Facebook page, what you can do is you can actually encourage people to think, what are they saying? Let's say you say something seditious. Let's say you say that cows can fly. I'm just saying, and then you are so insistent that cows can fly, and but black cows cannot fly, and some other people might think that, oh, you're being racist by saying that, and then you say, no, I'm not. I'm just stating my opinion. Black cows can't fly, but cows in general can fly.
But you certainly need to come up with a reasonable
Yeah.
fact
So
to support your
as
your
the moderator
opinion.
of the platform, what you can do is you can ask him, why do you think like that? Why you are making that? You are so insistent on that part of that opinion of yours. What do you think of other opinions of other people? You get people to start to think, and not just to think about their own opinions, but to think about other people's opinion, and to somehow go deeper and understand, maybe there are other people who have done research about maybe all types of cows can fly.
That's when the media plays a very important role, because if that issues flying cows can be a very controversial issues in the one community or nation, media has to play and also be able to educate those people with certain facts and researchers, to educate the public, not just being biased on a certain topic or biased on this side.
And what we really want here is, of course, to encourage the kind of dialogue, kind of discussion, because if everyone is just going to say that this is wrong, this is offensive, this is not right, this is bad, then there will be no proper outcome to that issue, because everyone's just throwing in all these negative comments. But if you were to
and we have
really,
to that's true, and we have to avoid the idea that everything is black and white. It's either you are that or this. But in reality, everything is in between. There's no black and white of everything. So Gowri, at the end of the day, what we should do, as Malaysians, as people who believe in freedom of expression?
I think that we are all already respecting each other, and just because there are certain extremists out there doesn't justify the need for a law, doesn't justify the need for a seditious act. If there are people like that, that problem need to be addressed. They should probably be sent for counseling or therapy or whatever it is, and
Not the ISA?
no, because at the end of the day, it goes back to how the kind of exposure they had in school, probably the environment they grew up in that made them that way, and that's why they can only see whatever it is from only one point of view. So maybe if someone could just talk to them and show them that there are many ways of looking at one thing and interpreting the same thing, then we probably just wouldn't have to deal with all this.
I mean, lastly, my question after all discussions we had is hate speech really unacceptable? It should not be a part of, free speech practiced by anybody or any institution or either government or non-government. That's my question here in Malaysia. I mean, based on the law and the cases that Malaysia has been having, and then in US too as well, there are concerns that hate speech could be detrimental to the society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my question is still hanging at this moment.
I see.
Yeah.
For me, the answer is very clear. Yes to perkasa wanting to say whatever it wants. Yes to anyone who want to say whatever they want. But at the end of the day, the responsibility lies into whoever that controls the platform, is to create engagement, is to let people think all the different opinions, including theirs. And at the end of the day, I think what is most important is education. That's it. I mean, since I think the education of asking people to be more critical in their views, to have more understanding in how the world works, and to see things beyond just black and white. At the end of the day, that is beyond any law, any hate speech law or sedition act. Society can function on its own, can think by its own, will not need any law to help them to think or to limit their thoughts. So with that, thank you very much to all of you, Gowri and Grace, for sharing your views.
Welcome.
And myself. So we will continue again next week. Have a nice weekend.
Yeah, have a wonderful Saturday and Sunday.